sales of previously owned homes in the U.S. fell in March from a one-year high. It underscores the lingering impact of high mortgage rates and elevated prices. Meantime, a great story by Bloomberg's Matt Boesler today on how rents are the Fed's biggest stumbling block when it comes to taming U.S. inflation. The housing market, of course, incredibly important to the economy and investors, and there are cross currents out there for sure.
Yeah, which is why we knew we wanted to check in once again with Kate Kaminski. She's Chief Operating Officer of the privately owned and asset and real estate investment company Walton Global. They've got about $3.3 billion in assets under management, over 90,000 acres under management here in the United States. She's with us once again from Scottsdale, Arizona. Kate, good to have you back. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Doing well. Try to keep up with everything that's coming up, and it sometimes feels cross currents are coming at us. Last time we talked, late February, you said pretty excited about 2024. Are you still pretty excited about this year? Are you less excited, more excited? Tell me what's changed since February.
Well, looking at the March numbers that came out, I mean, we've definitely seen things plummet a little bit since we last spoke. We're down about 14% for new home starts. But if you look at it year over year, we're still up 21% year over year. So I would say my sentiment hasn't changed from that perspective, because we're still seeing, at least for Walton's business, where we really focus in delivering land to new home builders. Companies like Horton put out their earnings today, and I mean they just had one of their strongest quarters ever, and so their stock's up. I think home builder sentiment's up. There's definitely headwinds with what we're seeing with inflation creeping up, mortgage rates creeping up. I think they went over 7 today. So we've got to get that under control. But we remain bullish on the outlook in the new home building space, most definitely.
So what happens if rates don't go down? What happens to your business over the next year, Kate? I mean, there's been lots of talk this year, just in the last few weeks, actually, and a lot in the last few days, that the Fed may not even lower interest rates this year. What does that mean for your business at Walton Global?
Yeah, I mean, we're reading the same economic data points and preparing for the fact that there may not be any rate cuts. We certainly hope that there will be, but especially given it's an election year, I think we're all we have to keep our seatbelt on and go along for this ride. But with that, we're continuing to hold steady in terms of transactions, and think that this is actually going to catapult forward additional transactions for Walton's business, because what we focus on is providing future land supply to the new home building space. And really we do that through a just-in-time inventory approach, nothing you haven't heard about or we haven't talked about before, whereby the builders are not paying for that land today, they're paying for it in the future. And with Walton's approach, it's when they're actually selling a home to a third party. But so as builders continue to look to preserve cash that they have on hand today, I think that there's going to be even more demand for these unique structures whereby they can defer land buying costs, even development costs. I think we'll start to see a lot more of that over the coming years, and especially this year, so that the builders can take capital that they have on hand, which they have a lot, and use that for things like continuing to buy down mortgage rates, because I don't think that that's going to be a program that we see go away anytime soon, because that's how we're going to get buyers into homes.
Right, and as you did say earlier, U.S. home builder sentiment holding at 51 in April, so it came in line with forecasted numbers by the analyst community. That was a little bit earlier in the week. Having said that, right, you guys do buy land, and then home builders buy that land. Is there any changes in the types of activity that you are seeing, or where they want to be building regionally? We've talked about regional variations with you before, and like all of the activity that's happening down south. What can you tell us? And sometimes the information gets a little bit more nuanced and interesting.
Yeah, Again, the data that came out on March, it's showing that we saw that decrease in starts from February over March right across the country. So I'm not going to say that, you know, there's one region in particular that didn't see some softening from February to March. But again, looking at things, you know, year over year, we're still seeing continued increases, strength in the numbers, which I think is leading to that, you know, home builder sentiment and good performance that we're going to see from these builders in Q1. We continue to be extremely focused on that southern half of the U.S. As we continue to see more companies relocate to these markets, job growth within those markets, and population growth, which is, you know, at historic highs. I think that the southern portion of the country is going to continue to be an area that you know, we can really look to for strong results.
Kate, again, to remind everyone of what you guys do, you manage land, you buy it from folks, you manage it, you hold on to it, and then you sell it to the large home builders, some of whom you've already mentioned during our interview. I'm wondering about the other side of the equation, going and acquiring that land right now. What trends are you noticing? Are you able to buy all the land that you want to buy right now? Where are the opportunities? How are prices?
You know, land prices, like everything, have been rising, and it's getting more and more competitive to buy development-ready land, and that's really the key phrase there. I keep driving home this point as we have these interviews, but we're not seeing anything loosen in terms of restrictions on, you know, development ready land across the U.S. Municipalities looking to approve land, and then even more important, the infrastructure injections, you know, spending to get servicing to that land for it to be developed on. But so, you know, all of these factors are making the development ready land supply even more and more constrained. You know, we've got around 90,000 acres under management. That makes us one of the largest owners of development ready land in the U.S., but we're continuing to look every week for new acquisition opportunities because we just think it's going to get tighter and tighter. But so we're certainly advocating for, you know, how can we affect change to get land approved, mostly for high density residential development, to get infrastructure, you know, spending and approvals, right, so that places, you know, like here in Arizona, where we have water challenges, we need to figure that out because the population continues to grow.
Yeah,
here.
I was going to say how much climate change is impacting kind of all of what you do. Just got about 30 seconds left here. What can you tell us on that? That's certainly something we're thinking a lot about here at Bloomberg, and got our Earth Day coming up on Monday, so kind of thinking about that too. How is that complicating the situation? And again, just got about 20 seconds.
Yeah, it's huge. You know, Florida just put some moratoriums on development to really figure out what's happening with wetlands in Florida, and so I would say that it's really region specific and the environmental impact within those markets. But there's a compromise here, and I think, you know, we need the government to work with the builders and developers and landowners to figure that out.
Gotta run. Kate, thank you so much. Kate Kaminski, COO of Walton Global. Coming up, hey, Elon, one of Tesla's biggest bulls, has a message.